But today we're going to talk about handling income documents and some of those other requests. Next week, we're going to talk about the $0 deductible plans. I want to go into detail. I know there are still some questions about those plans. There are some states that don't have them, but you could be getting them. It's part, when we had Ronell last week or 2 weeks ago, I think the CMS, the powers that be, the Congress, the people up here making the decisions for us down here don't understand those $0 plans. How do we explain them to our clients so that then we can also explain them to the powers that be? Why are we not putting people in a silver plan? Well, I'm putting them in a bronze plan because the bronze plan is better for them. Now, we're not talking about, somebody who's in the 93 percentile of CSR or, the whole unscrupulous agents that are putting people in, they actually only saying they make 20,000 and they're putting them in the $0 plan. We're not talking about that. I'm just talking about the average agent who knows what they're doing and they're putting a side by side bronze, silver. Why would I pick the bronze over the silver? So we're going to talk about that next week. I still have a couple things in the works, so I'll tell you next week what we're going to do the week after. But again, I am open for suggestions. I start feeling like I'm just talking the same things over and over again, and I can do that. But if there's something new you want to know, please email me and send me suggestions. I appreciate that. I want to teach what you want to learn. And if it's something that only 6 people are going to watch, okay, that's fine too. So let me know. So today, handling income documents. This is one that gets asked a lot, I think. So we're going to do kind of a bridged quick version of the class that I have online. So those of you who bought the class, you'll see this and go, this looks very familiar. So I'm going to use the same thing because it makes sense to. And let me share my screen. All right, I gotta move some things over. Zoom is always putting things in weird spots. All right. So you can see my screen. It says proof of citizenship, Medicare, right? All right. So the proof of documents is usually income, citizenship, Medicare coverage, Medicaid coverage, tribal associations, VA coverage, and release. It's typically what we see more than, there might be a couple others, but this is usually what we see. It'll ask for this additional documentation. So we're going to talk a little bit about why it asks for that, when it asks for that, how to handle that, and we'll start with income, because income is by far the one that it's the one that's asked the most. So you run the applications, and this one I just used a sample from 2021, but it says the same thing year after year. You run it through, and then you get this eligibility results that say by October, whatever. It's usually 3 months. Send us documents to confirm your household income. Everyone in the household that is reported on the federal income tax, regardless of the names on who's applying, they need that. Now, if they're under 18 and they're making less than $12,000, the income thing doesn't count it. So if you've run into that, you're like, I'm putting this income in and it's not calculating it correctly. That's because when it's less, and they're under 18, that doesn't count as income. So the system will just not include it. So I don't put it in. I don't put that in the income because it causes confusion, because you're like, wait a minute, why is it, 10,000 short? So if they're under 18 and they're making less than 12,000, you do not have to include it. The marketplace will send emails, and they send about 4 letters to your client. So the first one is the eligibility result, that typical paper that everyone gets. And then they send another one, I think at the same time, that's specifically about the income documents. Then they send another one, and then they send one about during the last month. There's 3 months they have to get it done. So I make an activity to follow up. I make the first activity 1 month after enrollment. So for this one, it was August 6th. I'm immediately making an activity for myself to follow up with that consumer. There are agents who don't. They don't do anything. They go, it's on you. You got the document and it's on you. I have chosen to not let it be on them because that's how you lose clients. Because they forget, they run out, they just, life is busy. I mean, I know we're all there too. We forget things. So I don't leave it on them. I want them to give it to me and then I will upload it. Because if you leave it on them, let's say you said their income is $20,000 and some of it's from Social Security, some of it is from an investment, and maybe they got $1,000 on their last paycheck from a job. And then so you've got $20,000 and the income that documents they submit are 22,000. It's a $2,000 difference. Do you know what happens? They get a letter saying we need more documentation. So then they're like, oh, what am I doing? So then they're trying to find more documentation. So then they send something else and they write a really long letter and they send that to the marketplace. The marketplace goes, we need more documentation. Oh, so they're panicking. They're doing all this back end stuff that if they had just given me the documents, I would say, oh, so you know what? When we talked, you said you were making 16,000 on your Social Security and you're really making 18. So I need to go in and update this application so that you're putting in the right income, so that you're paying the right amount, so the tax credit is correct. Never had anybody go, no, don't do that. They go, oh, okay. And actually, oftentimes the request for income will disappear, especially Social Security. If you put the wrong Social Security amount, the systems actually talk to each other. Now, wouldn't it be lovely if when you put in somebody's name, Social Security number, it auto-filled and it just said, according to our records, this is how much you're collecting for Social Security. That would be wonderful. It doesn't autofill it, but it does talk to the Social Security system. So they know what they're making. So if you put it in close enough, I mean, $1 or $2, $100 doesn't seem to be an issue. But if you're $1,000 off, the system will ask for proof of documentation. So I have the clients send me the documentation of their income so I can see that it is. I scan it, I attach it, and then I can keep track that it's done correctly. The system, as I have said over and over and over again, it's not a smart system. You have to put in income on the application that matches 100% with the documents you sent. Don't be off by $100. Don't be off by 1,000. It's kind of ridiculous. I get that. You're like, well, this is an estimate. We're telling them a whole year in advance. What's $1,000, right? They might have to pay back $100 maybe, or $10. But the system is not smart. And whoever the third-party vendors that's looking at this documentation, you cannot reach them. If you call healthcare.gov with the client on the phone, they will go, I don't know. It's sitting over here at this third party. So that's why I want them to send me the documents. It's a 5-minute exercise that can maybe save a whole lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then if I submit the documents, you can see that letter that comes out. And if it says something about like, oh, we need additional information, I can instantly reach out to the client and say, hey, you're going to get a call from the marketplace. This is how the third-party vendor will reach out. There's going to be a call from the marketplace. If you can answer that question, answer that phone call. Don't let it go to voicemail. Pick up the phone and ask them, what are you missing? What is it you need? Now, in 2014, when we first started this, people weren't quite as afraid of answering the phone. So this is how I know some of this information. So we would send in documentation and this third-party vendor would call the client. Oh, okay, what is it you need? And they would specifically say, oh, well, the income you sent was $3,000 difference. So I need you to send something that shows that difference. Oh, okay. Or, hey, you forgot to list your husband's income. Well, I'm the only one getting the insurance. Well, no, I know I said I need Susie Smith's income, but that really means I need the whole household's income. So if you see if you've submitted everything that's actually accurate, everything's 100% correct, and they get we need more information document, call your client and say, answer the phone and just ask them to ask, what information are you missing? And then call me. Now, not everybody will answer those phones. I mean, heck, my phone sits upside down and never has a ringer on. So I get it. It may not happen, but that's where I've learned some of this information was from 2014 and 15 when we actually still answered our phones. So I set up the income documents and go with it because that's what I want to. Not because I'm a control freak. I'm actually trying to help my client. So reasons for the marketplace, why they ask for the income. So there's a change in household size from previous year. So there was a divorce in 2023. They were married. 2024, you're putting only one of the spouses on there. It's always going to ask for proof of income because according to the most recent tax document, 22, that person was filing as two people. And now we just said it's going to be one person. The same thing happens often with a 26-year-old. A 26-year-old who was filing, they were, the last time that social security number was entered into the system, it was with a group, and now we're saying it's one person, it's going to want proof of the income. And it's always going to ask for it. There's really no way around those when it's that age or divorce. It's always going to do that. Or a death. I mean, if somebody was married and they're now a widow or widower, same thing. They were filing as two people, and now we're saying one person, so it's going to want proof of income. If the income you report has a 28% difference from the previous year's tax credit. Now remember, we're doing open enrollment for 25 in November, December. It's looking at tax documents from 23. It's not looking at 24, we haven't filed yet. So if the income you're reporting for 25 is 20% lower or higher or more than the 2023's documents and taxes, it's going to ask for proof of income. But that's when you get that, what I call the magic button. It'll say, hey, your income seems different than the last time we saw your taxes. What are the reasons? That's when you'll get that. You can say it's because of loss of income or job change or MLA leave, stuff like that. And if you do not enter the social security number for both spouses, again, even if one's on Medicare, you still need to put that spouse's social security number. If you don't do it, it will ask for proof of income, and it means household income because it can't take the social security number and compare it to taxes or the social security system. And it'll ask for that income if you did not click the magic button. So the magic button says, hey, according to our records, it looks like your income is different. Do not pick the long explanation. It's because of previous job change, retirement, things like that. Just click that button and it will not ask for proof of income every time. So examples of documents for income you can include: a 1040 tax document. The problem is, in the yellow right there, use it only if it matches exactly. So if they were working in 23 and at a full-time job, but they're retired and they're coming to you for 2025 coverage, you can't use that tax document. It's not going to match. But if there's somebody who's like self-employed and year after year, it's the same thing, okay, just, put that, but only if it matches exactly with what you're putting in. W-2s, 1099s, all the different types of 1099s, same thing. You can use it, but only if it's going to match. If they're retired, you can't use a W-2. That doesn't work anymore. A pay stub. Make sure that information is correct and matches exactly. So it really needs to match the hourly, because maybe the pay stub is February's pay stub and there's only 1 month on there. Just kind of make sure that if you average it out for 12 months, it's going to match. The best one I love is self-employment documentation. It's got all these things. Skip those. Don't use any of those. It's a hassle. It's a nightmare. The Schedule K forms, the documents, some kind of ledger. Don't use those. We're going to do the letter of explanation, which is what is my favorite. Social Security. This is a great one. They send out the Social Security letter in the fall with the new increase, right? They haven't come out with what the new increase will be for 2025 yet, but they always get it every fall. I like to see that document because if they don't estimate their social security correctly, that form will show it directly. I don't know if you run into this, but a lot of times people don't know what their gross social security is. They just know what's put in their bank. And so they'll give you that dollar amount. Well, then it's going to ask for proof of income because that's not the accurate one. So when I'm putting somebody's social security and it's asking for proof of income, I ask them to give me this letter. And almost always, 98% of the time, it's because the dollar amount they gave me is not accurate to what they're actually getting. Unemployment letter, again, make sure it shows the correct income. And then the last thing, the letter of explanation. That's what you should use if you're not able to show proof of income. A self-employed person, somebody who was full-time working as of December 31st, but as of January 1st isn't, and they're going to start pulling from an IRA, there's no proof of that yet. I'm gonna apply for unemployment, but I don't have that documentation yet. I mean, I had a guy, he kept saying that for an entire year and he never did. So the letter of income, the letter of explanation is by far the best thing you can use. So I've shown these in the past. I have it on my class. The letter of explanation needs to be as simple as possible. To whom it may concern regarding application, and put the application number, request for proof of income. Bob Smith is going to make, my estimated income is whatever you put on the system. 2,000 from this, 3,000 for this, and $50,000 from this. Just list it exactly as it is in the application. And estimated income for the wife, Susie, is no income. Even though she's not making any income, you need to list her name. And then if you have any questions, you put in their name, their phone number, type it in, submit it. Always ask for permission and tell the client that you're doing the letter of explanation, but that works 99.9% of the time. So Sam, what you got?
Okay. I'm actually going to be adding 2 documents into the chat for people that I use. One is actually an annual income letter of explanation that is actually from healthcare.gov. I've used it several times and it literally is exactly what Chris just said. Except for you're just not typing it out yourself. You're just putting in the information. It's just name, application, and income. And then the other one, I actually found it this year and it's regarding people that have TRICARE, Medicaid, or not Medicaid, Medicare, that they cannot get the proof, which I think Chris will probably be covering this after income, but I'm going to be adding it at the same time I add this other one. But sometimes people that have verification needs for the other things, they can't get that. We have had clients in the past that they don't have Medicare, but for some reason the Medicare office just, or I should say Social Security office just gives them the runaround. They can't get proof. Same as TRICARE. I found this document and I've used it a couple times now this year and it's worked. So it's just verifying that somebody doesn't have the coverage. So like I said, Chris will touch on that, but I'm going to add these documents into the chat that you can download and save to your computer yourself.
And I will also send that out when I send out the recording. So they're really simple. Honestly, keep it simple. And I will tell you the letter of explanation. This is how I knew it would work every time. Remember, I've been doing this a long time. I have an example for everything. The couple came in and told me, we don't know what we're going to make. We just quit our job. We bought this house. In 6 months, we're going to sell the house. And this is what we're going to make when we sell the house. And they had a very high income. So they were before, they had plenty of money in the bank. They were not going to get on the Medicaid system. And I went, well, that's interesting. So we wrote a letter of explanation that said, I purchased this house for this. We're selling it in 6 months. This is what we're going to make. And they accepted it. And I went, wow, they accepted that? Correct. The reason it's asking for income changes, and as long as you submit a letter of explanation or proof, is for the system, the third party to go, yep, they realize what they put on the system is the accurate income. So it works. And if it doesn't work, tweak it. It probably is because the income didn't match or you were missing somebody from the family. Put their name on there. They're not making any income, and then submit it again. All right. So next one is proof of citizenship. Reason number 1, you entered the social security number incorrectly. That is the number 1 reason. It says send us proof of your social security or citizenship. I want a copy of their social security card. I can't even tell you how many times somebody typed it in wrong on the intake form, or they told me the wrong one. And I go, oh, or maybe it was me. You know, I'm using the 10 keypad and I slip the numbers and my clients see the screen, but maybe it was, they missed it too. And then I go, oh, I update that, I open the application up, I type in the right, correct social security number, the request of citizenship disappears. So that is the number one reason. If you mark them as Native American or Alaskan, it's going to ask for proof of that. If they weren't born here and they have a green card or visa, it's going to ask for proof of citizenship. So even if they have a social security number, it still wants proof of citizenship. So those are the reasons it's going to ask for that. The other reason, and I didn't put it in here, healthcare.gov connects to one TransUnion or one of the three, you know, credit bureaus. Technology is wonderful when it works, and it's horrible when it doesn't. So if you enter somebody and you put it all in and it's asked for proof of citizenship, you go, all right, and then you're doing another application immediately and it does it again, I can tell you right now there's a glitch. That's what's happening. Healthcare.gov and that TransUnion or whoever are not communicating. And so they have no way to prove that that person exists. I did it one time and I had 5 in a row. And I'm like, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's because of that. So I waited one day and then I said, this is kind of weird. Let me try this again the next day and I will resubmit. I did. The systems were connecting and that proof of request for proof of citizenship disappeared. So though that's the other way that happens. It's not as common as it used to be, but it does happen, especially during open enrollment when, you know, something like 30 million people are trying to get coverage. Yes, Barbara.
Ooh, sorry about that. So, and hi guys, I'm in Houston, so I get spotty connection still right now. So I'm not connecting the camera because sometimes that makes it worse. So one of the reasons I have a lot of that is because as the as many Hispanic and other cultures, we have 2 or 3 different names, either first name, like I go by Barbara, but my name is Maria Barbara, and my, you know, a lot of them have 2 last names and things like that. So I think a lot of it also is if they go tell you just one name or you don't enter it correctly, the names, like the 2 last names together versus separate, that'll also trigger sometimes where it can't connect the information with, it can't match the name with the social security number you gave it. So
Correct. Yep.
I that is another one that I have a big reason where customers will tell me their name, but either I didn't enter it correctly the same way that it's spelled, or you know, hyphenated or whatever on the social security card, it won't be able to match those 2 together. And that tends to be a big one for me here in Houston.
Correct. And that's partly the other reason why I asked for the social security. So maybe the social security number wasn't entered incorrectly, but the social security information was entered incorrectly. So even myself, I was divorced 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It took me 4 years to get my social security card changed.
Oh.
So Chris
So you
George
actually
is my
asked
legal.
in your intake, Christina, you actually asked for a copy of the social security card?
No, I do not. I ask for it when I get proof, when it requests proof of citizenship.
Ah, got it.
That's
Okay.
when I go, oh, I see, I typoed the long name. It
Got
does have to match. Whatever is entered on the social security card has to match 100%. Now, in my situation, my legal name was George. The divorce had happened, my driver's license, my passport, everything was George. So my application, I entered Christina George. But when I got to the social security section, it says, is this the name on your social security card? I went, no, and I would have to put my old name. So that's the other way it can happen, you know, but usually when you see that social security card and hey, the last name's different, just
Correct.
call them, go, oh, I see, you know, it said Rodriguez and you're Rodriguez, you know, Pedro, which I've got a lot of those too, where there's a hyphen or something. So
Correct.
yes, you are correct.
Thank you.
That's why when they ask for proof of citizenship, the first thing, unless they, I know they're a green card or Native American, but the first thing I ask for is a copy of their social security card. Then I know whether the number or the name was entered in incorrectly. So examples of documents that you can use to send for proof of citizenship and stuff like that, trial affiliations. US passport's the best one. So this is the list that they'll give you for citizenship. It'll say, send us one from this list. If they have a passport, absolute best one. Now, if they have citizenship, certificate of citizenship, a state issued enhanced, which is available in some states, not in all states, though those are coming. If you're from an Indian tribe, you need the tribal card. You just have to have it. And again, not a smart system. So when they give you a copy of their tribal card, make sure you scan it and it's in your CRM, because next year when you enroll them, guess what? The system's stupid and it's going to ask for proof that they're part of a Native American tribe. And you're like, I submitted this last year. They haven't suddenly become non-Native American. So just keep that. I've got one, they've got 3 adopted children. Every year I have to submit the documents. So just keep those documents for naturalization, citizenship, and tribal. So that as soon as I see it, when I have a Native American gentleman that every year it says, send us proof, and I go, I gotcha. And right there, I submit and connect his tribal card because I keep a copy of it. So those are the best ones to get. That's that list where you only need one. But if you can't get that one, you need to send 2 documents. So if you can't get that first list, you have to get 2 of these ones. So birth certificate is pretty much what you're looking for. I've never personally used any of the other ones. I haven't had to. Different states, different areas, you might have to have that. That's fine. But those are adoption decrees. We've got somebody right now working with that. So these are the documents. You have to have one of these and a list. Here's another list. Military stuff, US life records. I mean, it shows you a long list of things. So you take one from that previous list and one from one of these documents. So it could be their birth certificate and their driver's license, a school identification card, the military card. So there's a long list. You've all seen it. I got that right off the document. Proof of incarceration status. This one usually shows up as a shock. I've only ever had one person tell me they just got out of jail, so I knew this was happening. So remember, if it suddenly pops up and you're thinking, what do I say? Just be sensitive. It's no big deal. You know, they're not in jail. So they're right in front of you. So they're often, it's a little embarrassing because they don't necessarily want everybody to know about this. So I just very matter of factly go, all right, just send me proof of, just give me your driver's license or, rental mortgage payment, utility bill. I had somebody give me a cell phone bill. Ironically, they rarely have the release documents. So, but if they've got that. So again, just read the list. It's not a big deal. You submit that. I don't know how long it takes before this proof of incarceration status drops off. If it's been 2 months since they were in jail, it won't ask for this. But it does eventually drop off. It's not like if they've ever been in jail, it's going to ask this. It's usually been I know it's within the last 30 days. I had a person who got picked up for drunk driving and was in jail for 2 weeks. He was only there for 2 weeks. He got released. He came in to see me. It was about 3 weeks after he was released and was asking for that. I was waiting for his documentation. I redid his application because he got a job. So I was updating the income and it no longer asked for proof of incarceration status. So there is a point where that will just drop off and not be there. So proof of the VA coverage, Medicaid, Medicare, in my state it's called Badger Care. 90% of the time, or I should say 99.9% of the time, when the system says, send us proof of non-VA coverage, non-Medicare coverage, or non-Medicaid coverage, they have it. They may not even know they have it. I had a woman who was like, I don't have VA coverage. And I said, well, this was, again, a long time ago. I said, well, I need something. They're going to take it away. She went in, she called, she goes, sure enough, I got VA coverage. I guess I don't need the insurance. Then she called me, and for the next 5 years, her 3 children were my clients because VA doesn't cover for children. So there are some VA plans that are not full coverage. So that's where some of the documentation that Sam was talking about that she's going to put in there, they have to call their VA representative. There's a advocate. They need to go to the VA advocate and say, this system, I'm trying to get health insurance, this system says that I have VA coverage. What do I have? They have something. Now, the VA advocate may go, yeah, we got you for emergencies only or prescriptions or something. That's not full coverage. They can go on the marketplace, but then you're gonna have to submit that document. The VA will not give documentation. I don't know why. So a gentleman came in, he had a stroke. I mean, he was totally disabled and needed to be on the coverage for 2 years till his Medicare kicked in, and it said he had VA coverage. They went to the VA numerous times and the VA kept saying, you do not have coverage. Like they kept saying he didn't have any, and they would not give him documentation. So we just kept redoing his application every 3 months and we pushed it out for 2 years because it kept asking for that proof and we kept trying to get proof. So we kept redoing the application. Now the marketplace thankfully has brought those documents, but you can just make a simple document that says they don't have it. Same with Medicare. They probably have Part A. If they ever file for disability, I see this really more with somebody's retiring and a spouse had Part A. They were disabled at some point, and maybe they don't have Part B because they were on the employer plan. They don't want to pay for Part B. They have Part A. You cannot have Part A and get on the marketplace. So again, they need to call Medicare. Hey, I need to get Part B. I've had 2 people who actually were no longer disabled. So the Part B was discontinued because they're no longer disabled. Social Security and the disability only terminates Part B. They do not terminate Part A. So the 2 clients that had to fight took about 6 months for them to get their Part A turned off because Social Security is going, wait, are you sure? Are you sure? Because if you do, relapse or if you end up disabled again, you're gonna have to start all over. So they're doing it from a good perspective. They're thinking, all right, if this person's disability comes back, one of them was a cancer person who survived her brain tumor and she's back to work full time. And the other person was huge. He was about 400 or 500 pounds and lost all the weight, went back to work. And he's like, I am not disabled. So he had to fight. And they kept saying, are you sure? It's like the Social Security didn't want them to end Part A. Well, they can't be on the marketplace if they're getting rid of Part A. I kept them on the marketplace while they were continuing to work with Social Security to get it termed. Once it was termed, it was fine. It is not a all or nothing. It's not like the IRS where, whether you made your $1 million on January 1st or December 31st, it's the same. As long as the Social Security is turned off, they can be on the marketplace. But those are the people I was constantly going, okay, what's the update? What have you been doing? Because if the end of the year happens, you're going to have to pay this back. I don't know of anybody. I do know of one person who had declined Medicare coverage. All of it, 100% had declined it because they were on their husband's plan. They didn't think they needed it, but because they were eligible for Medicare, it said you're eligible for Medicare is really what it was. We wrote a letter saying, and we actually saw proof that she had declined Medicare. And the system, now this was 2015, 2016, let her go on the marketplace. But then the next year during the annual election period, she went back on, she actually got her Medicare turned back on because she was still disabled and she was eligible for it. So just be aware of that. Medicaid, if they just ended it, so they're coming in today, they want it for August 1st because they have a letter saying their Medicaid coverage is ending August 1st, and you're doing the application in July, it's going to say send us proof of Medicaid coverage ending. Well, that's because they are enrolled in it, right? It's July. They still have it. The system has not told the marketplace, that it has worked. You can take that letter, submit it. If they don't have that letter, you can wait 2 months, re-update the application, and usually that is dropped. But if it's still there, they probably have it. I've had people who got signed up for Medicaid who had no idea they were signed up for Medicaid. And we found out at the same time because it said, send us proof of your Medicaid. And so they called the Medicaid system going, I don't qualify for this, take this off. So 99% of the time, it means they have it, but there are those weird exceptions. So just make sure that the exception, it really is an exception. Have them call the VA, tell them, I think you have coverage, make them do it to then go, oh, I do have VA, or oh, I have Medicare, and then go from there. There's the VA coverage. Medicare coverage, almost always Part A. They need to get that Part B ASAP. And if they have Medicaid, you know, usually we need that letter pretty quickly because it's gonna end in 3 months. If you don't send these documentations in, they're gonna lose the tax credit or the plan will end. One of the two things that happens. Now this was again, make sure they submit proof and the date of the 2021 marketplace application for your record. So I always, you know, just mark it, match it, tell them, don't submit it to the marketplace, send it to me. So I make sure it's done correctly and everything's accurate, and this will save a hassle. My first activity is a call, an email reminder and or text. Hey, I need this proof. Remember, you know, I need this out. Then I set a second reminder a month out. Second activity, another call, another text, email. Are you struggling? Do you need help? Do we need to write a letter of explanation? You know, what's happening? You know, touch base. And if they're unable to get that documentation, offer to write a letter of explanation for them. I got a letter of explanation. Will that work? Yeah. Oh, that would be great. I cannot get this document, right? I haven't collected my 401k yet. You know, I'm still waiting, you know. Or if they're like, no, I'm going to get it. Okay, then do a third reminder, but this is where you kind of go, if you don't submit this, you're going to lose your tax credit and you will pay. So I always, you know, do the gross amount. Right now, your insurance is costing you $23. If we don't get this in, it's going to cost you $800. That's a good motivator, right? And then they'll go, oh, I don't have 800. Okay, I need this documentation. So I always follow up. Once you have the documents, the income, citizenship, any other documents you're looking for, double check the application is correct. Make sure the income matches. Don't submit the documents. Don't submit one document. Wait till you have all of them. So if you're trying to get a social security document, income, a pay stub and a 401k slip, and they send you one document, don't just submit that, because if you just submit that, it's going to say send us proof of income. So wait till you have all the documents and submit them at one time. Not a smart system, so keep it really simple. Do it all at once. Follow up an activity. You know, we use Sherpa, but whatever your CRM is, citizenship, double check the social security matches, whether it's the number or the name. If it matches, submit it. Other documents, just do it all in a timely basis and then follow up, keep it up. Verify. Good news, the health insurance marketplace verified your household income. So number 4 over here. That means the documents, once it was in there, you submitted it, it's going to send that letter out. And if it says good news, they're done. You're done. If you need to try and submit something and you go to Health Sherpa and you're trying to submit that document and there's no place to submit it, that means there's nothing to do. So if you can't upload a document, it's done. So if the income on the application doesn't match the application, call the client, confirm, you know, hey, you sent me this, I need to update it. And then they'll get a new renewal number. Documents that are not accepted. You know, if you submit them and they're not accepted, just look at it. Why isn't it accepted? It's usually something really simple. I did one time have to resubmit a pay stub twice. It matched 100%. They're like, we need more information. I resubmitted the exact same pay stub and it worked. So, again, not a smart system, overwhelmed. I don't know how many people, my mental image is a little old man in front of a typewriter with a pile of just loose papers, and he's just randomly grabbing them to see what if it matches. So it's not a smart system. Keep it simple. Here's a copy of my letter explanation. Sam put in healthcare.gov has created one. Keep it really simple. Just do not go into a long explanation about how they used to have a job and now they're retiring and halfway through the year they're going to do this. It doesn't matter. Just keep it simple. They want to know the application number, the name, the income for each person, totaling for the household, and that's it. So I know there was a lot of chatting. I'm assuming my lovely staff was answering those because I'm not able to see those when I'm doing a spreadsheet. So I don't know if there's something in here I'm missing, or Sam, if there's anything you want me to touch base. I see, Jill, you have a question about what are our thoughts about CMS stating in the meeting a few weeks ago that reporting income correctly when you know the person's apt to be sent to a non-expended Medicaid state and be denied 3 or 4 months later. It's a horrible situation to put these clients in. However, I don't want to do anything to get them in hot water. I don't know if you're talking about reporting a higher income. They're not going to be in hot water. I don't know why this is an argument. It doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody can make, we have no idea what somebody's gonna make in a year. None of you do. So much life can happen. They're not gonna get in trouble if they say they make $16,000 and they only make 10. The IRS is not going after them. It's not going to happen. The system eventually will be fixed. It's one of the things they've been trying to in those non-Medicaid expanded states, especially states that have a huge gap like Texas and Florida, where you're an infant and a pregnant woman down here at the very bottom of income, you'll get it. But everybody, $3,000 to 15 doesn't get anything. They tried to get that passed that they could just go in the marketplace. The IRS does not penalize a person who says they make 50,000 and they make 20. What happens then? Do you guys know what happens if you say you make 50 and you make 20?
Yeah, you pay it back, whatever that percentage may be. But Chris,
No,
this is
no.
more,
I
this,
said I made 50, but I only make 20. I don't pay anything
nothing,
back.
nothing.
They pay me.
Yeah, but Chris, it was more of, I mean, I don't know, I don't know if you sat in on that meeting, but it was like, you guys are doing this and you're doing that. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're watching what income we're putting. And then when they come in below that level, they're noting that. And I'm more concerned about me, my license, but also the client. I don't want to put them in a bad situation, but I also don't want to put me in a predicament.
You're not.
Okay.
You legally cannot say this is what I'm going to make 100%. It's an estimate. And somebody who says they're going to make 16,000 and they make 10,000 isn't any different than somebody who says they're going to make 50 and they're going to make 20. When you list a higher income and it comes in lower and you were paying a premium, you get the money back. There's no difference. Now, the whole reason they're even talking about this is because of the unscrupulous agents who are just listing it right at the bottom. That is much more of an issue. There's only 2 states there's very few states that haven't expanded Medicaid, first of all. My state didn't expand Medicaid, but we cover everybody below 100 percentile. Most states have Medicaid expanded. So the percentage of wasted taxpayer money is minuscule to the people that are saying somebody makes 15,000 when they have no idea and they actually make 100 and then they have to pay stuff back. So CMS is lumping a whole bunch of stuff in there. But remember, we have proof. They have been given proof of agencies, unscrupulous agents doing unethical practices, and they're still allowed to practice. They're not going to go after us because we're like, hey, best guess was they could make 15. I don't know how much tip money they're going to get with Uber. They're talking about potentially getting a job. How can they sue? How can they know? It's just a gut reaction to the other side where they keep listing them really low and they're coming, and then when they file their taxes, they're coming in high. So you are not going to have to pay it back. It's just not going to happen. What did the IRS do? They would never collect it. It's not worth their money. It's not worth their time, their energy, their effort. They're not gonna. Now, if CMS wants to close loopholes, then that's on them, but I don't know how they're gonna. We're estimating a whole year in advance. Now, somebody comes in November and they did it for just December, and you're like, hey, your pay stub says you made 90,000 for December. Let me just put in 10. Well, yeah, but halfway through the year, full year, there's just no way. Do what's the best for the client. The whole point of the marketplace is that if you have insurance, you'll go use it. If you don't have insurance, you're not going to use it until something catastrophic happens. And then guess what? You're low income, you go to the hospital, you have a huge problem. It's cost the hospital $100,000. They don't pay that. The hospital writes it off and applies it to the state and gets paid by taxpayer money. We're actually saving our state's taxpayers and tax money by having people have income or having insurance so that they can go and get it when they're like, I'm having a hard time breathing. I can afford this $10 copay. As opposed to, I don't have insurance, I'm not going, until they have a massive heart attack and they're laying on the floor and now it's an ambulance and they're not gonna pay for it that either. So it's just their gut reaction and a reaction to what's happening with the other side. And yes, I wish the logic of agents who do this would be with CMS, which is why I like working with Ronell, because she's talking to the Congress people directly. I work with NABIB and I'm going to be talking to the Congress aides, you know, like the more we can have logic discussions with them, the better it'll be, because they're also doing a gut reaction to something, but not thinking about the practicality of the logic. So I think Virginia, you said, what happens at the end of the year? Do they do anything? I'm not sure what you mean. At the end of the year, do they do anything?
I mean, if you say, if they don't make the money, and then at the end of the year, they look at, do they reconcile and go, well, you didn't make it, you didn't report 16,000. What happens? Nothing?
Nothing.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yep, nothing happens. Now, if you said 50,000 and you make 20, they reconcile it and they go, oh, you overpaid. Here's your money back.
Okay,
But if you made 16 and you should have been on Medicaid, nothing happens.
okay.
So, Melissa, you said you have a random SEP question. It looks like Sam kind of touched that. You know, I will talk about one. In fact, we're emailing right now. Person walks into your office. They're divorced. I need you to get the application correct. The application has my ex-wife on there. It's a mess. Do not create a new application. Update the current application. The wife isn't, it's not a husband and wife where the wife has the coverage. She's on Medicare. She doesn't have the coverage. She's just listed on the application. She never should have been listed. Go in there, update it, and fix it. Do not create a new one. In fact, by updating the current one, you'll actually save them a hassle at tax time. So go in there, don't create a new one. The only time you should ever create a new one is if they're married, they both have coverage, and now they're divorced. You're going to make a new one for whoever was listed second.
Okay.
The primary person's application should be updated to remove that person. I mean, there's even a spot that says, are they divorced? Yep, they're divorced, and it removes them. And then the secondary person is you make a new application. This can be tricky. Maybe you're talking to the primary person and you're like, does the secondary, does your spouse know that they need to go get their own? I'm happy to work with them. You know, I am held by privacy. I'm not going to talk about anything about you at all, but do they know? Or maybe you have the secondary. All right, but whoever the primary person is, do they know they need to go in and update their application? Because I need to create a new one for you and you can't have double coverage. So it can be a little fun. Talking to divorcees, it's so much nicer when they at least talk to each other. You can be the client for both of them. Most of the time that works well for me, but every once in a while you have somebody who doesn't want to do that because they're too worried. Okay, I'm going to do this, but your spouse needs to do this. And document it, written it down, put it in your notes that you told them this, so that if it comes back, you can say, hey, I told you this was the right way to do it.
Okay, can I ask a quick question on that? So what if the wife had coverage the whole time through work and shouldn't have been on the original application that I didn't do? So when I
Correct.
go to
Still
cancel
go
and
in there and
update it,
update the application and remove her.
okay, is there going to be repercussions? Because there's something went haywire last year and there's some tax thing. I don't really want to be involved with that, but will she get a notice, or will she get money back if they've been paying premiums for a year on her for having double coverage?
Now, if she had double coverage, that's the problem. He should have fixed that. So she might.
She might have a tax problem.
Mhm.
Or would she get her money back?
No, she had coverage. She shouldn't have been paying. But now that you separate it, they get remember they get those 1095s at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That, you know, it will have one with both of their names on there and it'll have one with just him when you go in and fix it. They have to take the one with both their names on there and their accountants have to work it out. Because even if you term that old one and you create a new one, the same thing is going to happen. The old one has both of their names on it. It's still going to affect them. So update the current application, get her off. delete it. She shouldn't have coverage. No, I would verify that, talk to him, 100%. She should not. She has coverage through her job. Yes, she does. Okay, I'm going to take her off right now to stop the bleeding. And just know you're going to get 2 of these documents. You're probably going to, and there is a way to separate them. Don't ask me how. A good accountant knows how. There is a way to separate the tax credit and all that stuff so that she will deal with her part of it and the tax ramifications of having double coverage.
Okay, and I just go, I did a new app, so I go cancel that app.
Yeah, cancel that one.
Okay.
Yes, Sharon.
Yeah, I had a similar case with a couple where the husband was the primary on the application and he was holding the wife hostage and she could not get off the application. So what I did was just sent an email to the what is it, the FFM producer desk, and then they referred it to the complex case desk. And then what they did was they fixed it to where she didn't get in trouble for having her job-based coverage and still being on the marketplace. So I would suggest just sending an email to them explaining what's going on, and most likely they will refer you to the complex case help desk, and then they can fix it to where if the wife was innocent, she wouldn't be penalized for the husband not taking her off.
Here's the other thing. She's also the legal owner of that application. She can call healthcare.gov or him and say, I would like to update the application. Please take me off. She's a legal adult on that application. They can call and update it themselves as well. Now, if you can be on it with them, help them walk them through, but any adult on that application has the right to call and update the application. Now, as an agent, I wouldn't want to get involved in that situation where I'm putting my name and updating it. Yeah, you don't want to do that because now you're touching his application as if you had permission. Call the marketplace with that client and she can say, hey, can we update the application? Because it still says that I have coverage on there and I have a job. All right, that representative is going to walk right through it and do that. So it's not just the primary that's allowed to talk. It's either adult on that application. Now,
So should I confirm? I mean, he said she's got coverage through her work. Should I just take that at face value and remove her? I now you got me worried about consent because I'm not working with her and they're not.
I would call her. Leave a
Okay.
message, say, hi, I'm working with your husband and I want to clarify. Right now, he says you have work insurance. Before I do anything, I just want to clarify that's accurate.
Okay, and if she doesn't respond?
You have to take it to him and get him to sign. Have him sign a document. Have him say verbally, have him say 100%, yes, she has employer coverage and she shouldn't be on there, so it doesn't come back to you. But I would reach out to her,
Okay.
I'm not sharing any personal, I'm not telling you what his, nothing about him or the income, just saying, I want to clarify and verify that you do have employer coverage. And I want to make sure if you do, you won't be penalized. It's for her benefit to let you know. She may not, give it a week, say if you could call me back by Friday. And if you don't, then make him say it where it's recorded, write a document, whatever, that he's saying, yes, 100%, he'll take responsibility. She doesn't have employer coverage, or she does have employer coverage.
Okay, and then I just submit that letter of explanation when I redo the app because the income's gonna drop, or will it be obvious when I say they're divorcing?
It's when you say divorce, I don't think it will, but you'll see whatever
Okay.
the document comes
All right.
back. All right, we're at top of the hour. Thank you all. Have a wonderful July.